Welcome to the Dance Diaries. I'm Carole.
And I'm Kim. Welcome, everyone.
Today we're going to talk about how we replace limited beliefs.
That's right.
In our dancing.
That's
so what does
right.
that mean, Kim?
Limiting beliefs. So we know that fear, anxiety, and doubt comes from the limiting beliefs or the limiting thoughts that hold us back, right? And so where do those limiting beliefs come from? So I can bring personal experience into this because this is the way I can have you guys relate to it all when it comes to dancing. So, as a small child, and for about 15 years from the time I was 3, my mom put me in ballet, and I was a ballerina and I danced ballet, but I wasn't good. And I was always put in the last group, I always had to work the hardest. I was the one that always had the yardstick, turn out and whatever. So I never thought that I was a good dancer or that I had the ability to be or become a good dancer. And those limiting beliefs were from that time in my life where I had to work much harder than anyone else in ballet to be half as good as they were. So that's what a limiting belief is. It's something that you're taught or told or that you believe about yourself from other areas in your life. It could be from a parent. It could be from a teacher, from a dance instructor, school. It could be from friends who told you, you're not good enough or you could never be. And you carry those on into other areas of your life. So when I entered into the ballroom world, I always wanted to dance, but I never thought that I could be.
So I guess that takes a lot of turning around those negative thoughts, or maybe discovering that it's not as bad as all that, to take a little step forward despite those fears and despite your anxieties. But you're right. I think they do stem from somewhere. I mean, I encounter people every day in my dance life who come up to me and are like, oh my goodness, I love the way you dance. You dance so beautifully. I would just love to be able to do that. And so there's a limiting belief,
Correct.
Right? Someone that believes that they may not be able to dance as they are outwardly looking at someone, right? Or desire that they could do something more. And I see that a lot with fellow dancers that are just either starting out, headed to their first competition, headed towards maybe their first show dance, and that's a real step to overcome. But guess what? You made it to a practice. You made it inside of a dance studio, and that is one terrific first step.
Agreed.
Right?
You're so right. So many people exactly like that say, oh, wow, I wish I could dance, but I could never do that. And I'll turn to them and say, why not? Why? And they don't really have an answer. Oh, I could never look that good or feel that good, or I have no rhythm, and we all know we don't need rhythm. I mean, I say all the time, if you can walk, you can dance, And by the way, if you knew 3 steps in 2 different dances, socially you'd show up like an amazing dancer because no one else does, right? But yes, those limiting beliefs, I hear this all the time. I'm too old. To start.
I hear that too. And I'm sorry, but after dancing with a woman that turned 100 years old, Porchon-Lynch,
yes,
there is no excuse for anybody saying they're old. This lady was phenomenal, and we'll put a link below on her bio.
Yes.
And if there's anything that gives you inspiration, she started dancing when she was 86 years old, I believe.
Amen.
So that is just something to rethink in your frame of mind about being too old. That changed my thought, actually, on what old really is.
Wow. See?
Yeah.
So that's a way that you were able to overcome a particular limiting belief. And then there's others, I'm too overweight, I'm too, all kinds of excuses, but they're not really excuses to someone who has those beliefs ingrained in their system, and again, coming or stemming from typically outside of who they are. Someone told them that. And as we demonstrated in our last podcast, those thoughts that you're given will become reality, So how do we break out of whatever limiting beliefs we might have in our dancing or in also other areas of life. And there's ways to be able to do that. And it does require some time and work
It does.
on yourself. And basically what it is just changing the habits surrounding your self-talk. We talk about affirmations.
Oh, absolutely. I do affirmations every day.
That's amazing.
The I ams I do all the time. I am great. I am a fantastic dancer. I'm a great mom. And these are great personal affirmations that I write in my diary, hence the Dance Diaries, guys, right? And I think those, when you outwardly either write them down or say them out loud, it helps become more outwardly positive about the things that are good in your life.
Correct. So writing it, saying it, and then saying it with feeling and tonality. Because what happens is we can say those things to ourselves. I'm worthy. I'm confident. I'm young enough. I'm a great dancer.
I look great.
I'm the best. I look great. I feel great. I'm a great mom. All of those things we can say. And remember, your subconscious has been told something different for a long time. And you're trying to recondition or move that thermostat of your subconscious thought process to a different level. How do we do that? Well, we have to recondition it now. And the only way to do that is repetition and impact, right? So many times saying your I ams. How are you saying them to yourself? Are you adding, I am worthy, I am great? Are you doing it with feeling?
Yes.
And that's the only way that your subconscious mind will then respond. And you'll begin to see changes in your behaviors.
I wish I had worn my t-shirt. I have a t-shirt in my bag that has all of my I ams written on it, top to bottom. I am not joking.
Next time,
I brought it with me, and on there has to have at least 26 I ams that are written on that. Wow. And the front of my t-shirt says, I am.
I love that.
Yeah.
And on the back, it has all your I ams?
All the I ams written out.
So we used to do that.
Yeah.
I in with my coaching partners, we would do weekend retreats, and sometimes we'd have 30, 40, 50 people there on a weekend, and we had shirts like that ready-made for them. I am, all different positive, impactful statements. And, guys, I know a lot of people, when we talk about affirmations, a lot of people are like, oh, that's hogwash, blah, 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 blah.
Sometimes you would be surprised at how much something like a couple of words like that written down can help reframe your mind in a way that helps you drive towards more positivity, gives you a little pivot to move towards something else, and it just sort of drives you along the road a little further towards a direction that is meant to be for you,
That's right. And it's about that vibration, right? So getting back to saying it, those I am statements or those affirmations to recondition those limiting beliefs that you might have. So first tip would be recognize that you have limiting beliefs. We all do. I don't care who you are.
Yes, I have said, I'm sorry, I'm not physically ready to go to a dance comp, or I feel big, or all these things. These are limiting beliefs in your mind, right? This is limiting, or I'm not, I haven't been conditioned enough yet. These are all outward fears or limiting words that I'm saying that may prevent me from taking a leap.
I'm not as good as her. I'm not as pretty. I
don't dance as well.
I don't have blah, 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 blah. We say all these things, and then they become what we believe of ourselves. So imagine for a second, if you're saying those things negatively, and by the way, I know you are, because that little negative voice is in everyone's head.
That's right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And if you're saying those things to yourself, believe me, your subconscious believes it. So just look at some of the results that you're getting in all areas, in your dancing and different areas of your life, and ask yourself why those results are happening, and then look at your self-talk surrounding those areas.
Yes, Kim, I couldn't agree more. And it's amazing how fast that if you let it come in, how hard it could be to get it out. But once you recognize it, and please, I encourage you, this is why we have what's called the Dance Diaries. Write it down. What showed up here today? If you're at a lesson or you're out trying to get ready to do something for your next showcase or your next competition, and you find that negative self-talk coming through, I highly encourage you to write it down and find out where is this coming from and find methods to get out of that.
That's right.
Quickly. Right?
Wonderful point, because that's the first step in anything. We have to admit that we have them.
Hard to say, but if it's overwhelming the benefit of why you started doing ballroom dancing to begin with, then of course, why would you not want to get out of it?
Yep.
This is supposed to be such an encouraging, fun thing that you do, very motivating in terms of what you get out of it, both mental and physical benefits from dance. Yep. You would not want the negative to overwhelm what positive can come from that.
Correct. We call it self-sabotage, right? Self-sabotage. Why are we doing it? It's the fear, anxiety, and doubt that we allow to let in. But by reconditioning, as we're both talking about, and Carole's a testament to affirmations in your life, whatever you want to become, I want to be the best, rhythm dancer, American rhythm. I want to be the best international Latin smooth. I want to be the best in whatever, or whatever it is that you hope, wish for, and desire. When you write it down and say it over and over and over. And I will encourage everyone, if you're going to do this, the best time is in the mornings when you wake up and in the evenings when you go to sleep, because that's when your subconscious mind is the most aware and the most open to accept information. And it works. These types of things and this isn't reinventing the wheel that we're teaching you. No, this isn't new
concepts. It's simply... It's the application of what I think and what you and I both believe has been positive additions to our life, right? It helps us, for me in particular, I could say it helps me remain calm. I believe in calmness. I believe in, finding methods through the idea of writing down these affirmations. I listen to soft and calm music.
Yes.
I find ways to ground myself outside of all that so that I don't allow for these self-sabotage to take primary role.
Right. And it's apparent in your life and in your dance life as well, and those are the things. But again, it's the first thing is to identify what they are. You have to dig deep and really own it. And it's hard work, because we don't want to believe that we actually have these limiting beliefs about ourselves. But
remember in the podcast we did last time, I mentioned something about being in the outfield rather than being in the game. So let me say this differently. Think of it in terms of the dance. Rather than being a spectator and sitting in the seats, watching what's going on all the time, wondering, well, I wish I could, but I am, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. Take a moment to examine really what the true reason is why you would not take at least one small step towards trying something a little different. What kind of fears that you would need to overcome. And if you write those things down and say, is it as bad as all that? Really?
Exactly.
Try something small. So get up from the spectator seat and try to make your way a little bit into something else. Overcome those fears a little bit by just giving it a try.
That is such a great point, because a lot of times what we're talking about seems like a lot. It's a daunting task. It seems big. Well, I can't do that. I don't have the time. Again, excuse. But if you do it slowly and small, just like Carole mentioned, which is an excellent point, just little chunks,
The chunks could be something as simple as, well, I don't have a costume, or I can't have the money to spend on all these things to go into a competition or into a show dance. There's plenty of places that you can go. There's local little dance stores you can go to. There's local things online that you can shop in that are far more affordable. Or I'm quite positive you have something very pretty in your closet, or something handsome to wear that's in your closet that you can make do with. Because besides all those kinds of objections, I will call it, there's ways that you can move forward. If it's about being physically ready, like we talked about, or you're feeling like you're not quite there, have a little bit of a smile on your face and grow beyond that, because you know what? Everyone around you will be so proud of you.
Right.
This community is so strong in ballroom dancing. There'll be nothing but encouraging.
Agreed. And you'll grow into that dancer and that person that you want to be. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you recognize and realize that those things are there, like we can all see a physical roadblock.
Oh, absolutely.
in the way. You know, we're driving, something's in the way, we know. We can go around it, over it, under it, whatever we are going to do, or we can knock it down.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, but the thing is, we have to know it's there to be able to break it, to knock it down. And that's a hard thing, again, because we have to face those fears, anxieties, and doubts that we have. It's uncomfortable. But once we get them out, we then knock them down one at a time. And the way to do that is by the affirmations, just one way. This is just one tool. There's multiple tools, but this is the easiest, and most people know about affirmations and how effective they actually can be. But think of each of those affirmations as breaking down a roadblock in your way. Picture yourself driving down the road. You know,
and when you see a roadblock, Kim, don't you think of it like, oh, look at that big thing. It looks heavy. It looks something that's going to be a problem, or it's going to cause damage, or what have you. Once that's out of the way, let's say if you rid yourself of the roadblock, you wouldn't believe how much of a relief that feels. And then you say to yourself, that wasn't as much of a big deal at all.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Or you're going to get exhilarated by the fact that I just can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
And then come to terms with the idea that you took such a major, great step forward. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Right.
And then you realize that you can do it again with the next roadblock, because there will be, you know, but oftentimes people see that roadblock and they go, uh-oh, and they just reverse and turn around and go away because they don't want to face it. They don't want to deal with it. They're like, it's too big. I might as well just block it out, you know, suppress it. And then we live life, you know, allowing those blockages, whatever it may be, to control our outcomes.
The part that you say we live our life, I have always said, do what you love.
Yeah.
That's one of my little slogans that I love, because I feel as though if you do not embrace life through a lens like that, you would miss out on so much potential.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, not everybody's up to doing everything that we're talking about in the ballroom dance world, but there's always a little something more that if it's in the back of your mind from the spectator seat and you think, you know what, I wouldn't mind getting on the floor. I wouldn't mind giving it a chance.
Yeah.
So if we make that relatable to the dance, sort of beyond the competition, let's say you're in a studio and they have a mini match. Let's just say that's a great first step to give something a try. If you're taking lessons and you're not sure if you want to participate in that, a mini match or a team match is such a great step to kind of overcome a small fear. For example, it could be that you have an evaluation day and someone's just evaluating your potential or some steps. You're not in front of a lot of people. It might just be you, your instructor, and an evaluator. That's a small step that you can take towards something. Right, Kim?
Absolutely, yes. It's this step that will get you past. It'll get you from no, I can't to yes, I can.
Even getting a coach. Some people that I know may be like, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not good enough to be in front of a coach. Yeah. You'd be surprised how much coaches just love being with people and dancers of every beginner, medium to exceptional dancer that's out there. Yep. They just want to be helpful. They want to help you make a little bit more progress in what you're doing in a day. And you will learn so much. There's so much grateful intake that you can get from that experience.
So true. And the reason I think that's true is because they've been there. They have been right where we are and right where we were. You know, so they know, the coaches know what we're thinking, what we're feeling. You know, they know what we're trying to accomplish and they want to get it out of us, and they'll do the best they can. That's a very, very good point. Coaches are definitely people for us to rely on and look toward, you know, for this mindset, because they've had to overcome it just as much.
Do you remember when we interviewed Amita Hill and she spoke to how she had never been to a competition?
Yes.
Now, Amita is an amazing historian. She wrote the book Slow, Quick. And we'll put that down in our links as well. The reason I bring Amita up is that we encouraged her so much that Amita, come with us to the next competition and just be a spectator to watch the fantastic dancers that are out there, get into the energy in the room, and then it might spark that one little hurdle by which you can get over.
Would that be amazing
Right.
to see Amita on the competition
I would
floor?
love that.
Doing an Argentine tango with Arsene. I think that's what she said she would love to do.
Well, you know what? And then that's where we talked about manifesting your sort of outcomes. But the talk about limiting our beliefs, is that what, you know, I mean, I think that Kim and I don't live in a world where we realize that there's always obstacles to overcome, right? I mean, there will always be that. But we've recognized in our years of dance that in order to do a little more or feel a little better, that it takes some steps along the way, right?
Yes.
And if we can help any one of you at all to not go too far into taking that part so seriously, you know, while I realize the nerves and the fear is all there, examine what that really is. Because at the end of the day, this is a community that embraces someone to try something new every day.
Good.
Right.
That is an excellent point. That's part of the reason why I think I became so connected, because I said, wow, I've never felt so accepted being so eccentric. Right. You know, just being able to express and, you know, in the dress and everything about and, you know, dance is a language and being able to express through dance, you know, a different language. And it's a community that is so accepting. That's a wonderful point, you know.
I have a show dance coming up, and it'll be the first time I ever do a lyrical number in a show dance.
Wow.
And the level of vulnerability, and even though I've been dancing for several years, this is a different style that I have to go out there with. So I do have a little bit of anxiety leading up to that, but every day I just got my costumes, you know, I just had a coaching on that someone has taught me how to be brighter, how to be bigger, how to be more confident. And so every little step towards overcoming those limitations that sometimes you build up in your mind is a great path forward.
Yeah.
So
I have a question for you. Do you break down your I am statements? So I am statements for dance and I am statements for life, or do you just incorporate all of them?
They are all incorporated. But I mean, I go back to my IMs. I go back in history and I'll put a check mark next to something that I either believe that I want it to be or something a little more. And then I will put a date on it as to when it was accomplished.
Wow.
So I go
Look at that.
backwards and, you know, meaning that I don't live in the past, but I go back to see and say, yes, this is now a reality, or I have come into my own for this piece.
Nice.
And so, yeah.
But then do you cross that I am statement off, or do you leave it on?
No, I leave it on.
Leave it on, yeah.
I leave it
you
on.
have to, because you have to keep
Absolutely.
keep conditioning. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. So there's a thought too. You can have separate IMs for different areas of life, or you can do them all because they all overlap, you know. I am confident goes everywhere. You know, I am worthy goes everywhere.
I mean, I would say that for the dance diaries, you asked me if I separate that out, for that part, perhaps as I'm preparing for me, at least in competition, I would likely separate that out a bit because there's a little bit more pre-planning that goes into it versus a more broad, sort of a general part of my life. But I do have a more general a book of affirmations and just my own sort of written say-sos, I guess, that I keep.
Nice, nice. What other things do you think that you might struggle with or other people might struggle with when it comes to Pro-Am ballroom dancing or competition that we haven't mentioned yet?
I don't know if we got into it, but, you know, I go up and down with my weight all the time. And I think sometimes oh, gosh, I'm not ready for this next comp because I can't fit into that dress, or I don't feel like I physically look my best or something like that. Lately, I've had to be, it's okay. It's just okay, because that doesn't change my personality.
Yeah.
That doesn't change the way that I'm dancing.
Right.
It just simply is, it's part of my life where I have to make sure that I adjust and I'm aware and I will deal with, but that should not change the actual outcome of what I want to do, because your personality will come through loud and clear no matter what.
And you're not being judged on that on the dance
No,
floor.
and
That's something that's very internal. Yeah, yeah.
How about you?
Multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Mine go more toward, I'm not sure I can live up to my own expectations on the dance floor. I'm not sure, my fear, anxieties, and doubts are always about not being good enough. Not letting my instructor down, letting myself down, working so hard and feeling like, yes, I can do this. And then I get on the dance floor and I don't, pull it out. Those are mine.
I think my instructor would wish that one of my instructors would wish that I was a little more like that, because sometimes I'm a little impulsive and say, of course we can go out there in 3 weeks. Well, we have to practice, I mean, we have to practice. But sometimes I'm so much over the other side, meaning, oh no, let's just go, and whatever becomes of it becomes of it. And that's not quite the way it needs to be. So there has to be a healthy balance there. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. So I do that. That I dive in. And then the fear, anxiety, and doubts come.
Okay.
So I'm like, yes, let's do it. And then, oh my gosh, can I? I'm not really sure. Did I bite off more than I can chew?
Okay, that makes
things
sense.
like that. And oftentimes I've competed in larger competitions where, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then I go out there and I look back and I'm like, oh, I had no business being out there. So I have to overcome those things. And I do. And that's part of what I do. I'm a good dancer. I'm the best dancer. I'm the best version of myself as a dancer on the dance floor. I work, as hard to get me to there's so many things that I talk to myself about to overcome those. Thank God mine aren't physical. I don't go and say, I don't.
It's rare I do that, but sometimes,
lots of people do. You're not alone. And by the way, I have done that too, but you're not alone in that. There's so many people that we discussed it in our last podcast when, people have said, I really want to dance, but I can't. I can never look like that. I can never be like that or whatever.
Oh, it's because they have this idea of what that look is. And honestly, the best dancers I've seen are the ones that just float.
Yeah,
just enjoy it. No, most people just want to see you smile and have a nice time,
Exactly.
Really,
I would encourage all of us to, number one, let's try to dig deep and identify what your limiting beliefs may be. We just discussed, we threw a whole bunch out there, and I'm sure some of them resonated with some of you.
Right.
Once you identify what those are, right, turn those, what I would call paralyzing paradigms, into what I call power paradigms, right?
Power paradigms. I like that, Kim.
Yeah. And the way to do that is to rewrite what your limiting belief is first. So write down one side of the paper, write down what your fears is, what your anxiety, your doubt, or your limiting belief is. On the other side of the page, write the exact opposite.
And then just check on the link, and we'll have a little template that you can use for that. If you want to download it, we'll make sure that you have a template that will help you sort of put that together.
Yes. And then once you do that, I want you to physically cross off. When you write down the exact opposite of your limiting belief, then physically cross off that limiting belief. And what you have left is what we call the power paradigm.
Power paradigm.
I'm giving a lot of information here. So from that power paradigm, you're now going to develop your I am statements. And those I am statements should be directly related to what you're trying to accomplish.
That's all great, Kim.
I know, great stuff. I hope it helps.
This was a really great podcast today, and we hope that you at least got a little something out of that, something to think about that is personal to you, our friends here on the Dance Diaries. And please, we'd love your comments. We'd love it if you subscribe and like, and we're really encouraged by everybody's support. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
have a great
guys.
day.
Bye-bye.